What's the wildest conspiracy theory you fully believe? 100% of the population believes that Putin has had people killed for political reasons, but only a very small percentage of Americans believe that American politicians would ever do so. I mean, there's a reason the joke, saying is, the highest award a journalist can receive is being assassinated by the CIA. There's probably been a handful who may have found out one too many things on the elites. And then had an accident before they could publish their findings. Oh boy, then South American journalists in the 60s to 80s have been awarded way too much. Manufacturing Consent talks about this. That Rob Dyrdek has massive dirt on higher-ups at MTV, and that is why his show is on almost 24/7. Ha 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 ha. As much as I love Rob and co., I can believe this with my entire soul. I have caught myself turning on my TV at the start of the day and seeing ridiculousness on. Then like 6 hours later I realize that I'm still watching ridiculousness. Then the TV guide says ridiculousness is on until 5 a.m. with a 3-hour break. He's gotta have some dirt. To be fair, you just admitted to watching 6-hour blocks of ridiculousness. Maybe it just attracts enough people for long, or way too long, enough lol. Not necessarily watching the blocks. TV is on more like background noise while I'm on my laptop. It's quite a trip when you look up and realize the same thing is on so many hours later, haha. I think it is entirely plausible that the thylacine still exists in the depths of the Australian mainland and the government knows it. It wouldn't be that crazy for misguided scientists to have moved or released a few in the late 1800s. Once the animal went extinct. They certainly couldn't reveal the existence of the mainland population lest poachers and local farmers destroy it. They also may have realized how significant the liability was for releasing large predators into farmland. Folks have found hair and scat samples that may be from the animal. But the university lab results always come back and say they are nonsense. That's probably the truth. But I wouldn't be entirely surprised if the government was strong-arming them into reporting bullshit results. TBH, if I was a conservation scientist, it wouldn't take much convincing for me to fake a negative test. Greater than gov. Hey, some American documentary show found some scats that may actually be the real thing. Should we let them broadcast to the entire world that this super endangered and really cool animal exists so that every hunter from Texas to China comes looking to bag the last one? Or will you say it was a dog poop? Greater than me. Oh yeah. Dude, it's totally dog poop. You can tell by the way that it is. I thought thylacine was a drug. Thylacine is a hell of a drug. I mean, it's not hugely weird, but I believe Kenneth Lay of Enron infamy, who died of a heart attack in a small mountain town in Colorado, was observed by only a few people after his death, and then cremated privately, probably faked his death and disappeared with all his wealth to another country. The lawsuit was just about to come down and take away all his wealth, because he died literally a few days before the judgment. The family kept it all. He wouldn't have had to bribe very many people relative to his absurd wealth in order to pull it off. Yay, that's totally plausible. The Australian cyclist Mick Rogers is a time traveler. In the 2002 Tour Down Under, Rogers was in a great position in the breakaway and looking to move into the overall race lead, but a collision with a motorcycle left his bike out of commission. With the team service car and mechanics way down the road, it looked like Rogers' chances were gone. Then a cycling fan, who just happened to be at that precise point in the road, offered Rogers his bicycle to continue on. The bike also just happened to be the exact model of Colnago that Rogers had been riding. It was the correct size, right down to things like the stem and crank lengths. It even had the same pedal system that Rogers was already using. So he could just clip in and be away. He finished that stage and took the race lead, which he held on to all the way to the end for his only career win in his home tour. My theory is that in the original timeline, Rogers didn't win the 2002 Tour Down Under. He quit cycling in anger and devoted his life to theoretical physics and solving the problem of time travel just so he could arrange it to leave himself a spare bike where and when he needed it. I'm on board for whatever book or screenplay you write. Wait, so if Rogers' motivation to find ways for time traveling was losing 2002 race, and if he won, then Rogers never found time traveling and our timeline is forever devoid of genius like Rogers, who would have found time traveling and attended Hawkins' party. Yep, exactly. Our timeline is stuck with boring old Mick Rogers. 2002 TDU winner and 3x world time trial champion, while some other much cooler party timeline gets Mick Rogers. The second coming of Einstein. He probably even cures COVID for them. What if time travel proved to only be nothing but a personal achievement to him and him only? And seeing his past self be happy and choosing the reality of no time travel yet is the best solution for him, closure, and humanity, survival of our race, I mean. Do we really deserve time travel now? I believe in a lot of really boring conspiracies. Stuff like, this person was about to expose corporate government corruption. And then died suspiciously, but if you want to go for a more intense one. Robert Borton, who I just learned about, takes the cake. TL. Dr. guy disappears in Vietnam and really strange shit happens to his family. Link. https://unsolved mysteries. Fandom. Com. Wiki. Robert_Borton. There is a creepy image of a screaming ghost woman in the background of that wiki. I don't want anyone to be jump scared. Longer explanation. This guy. Robert Kurt Borton Jr. turns 19 in 1965. He goes to fight in Vietnam. He lands in 1966 and vanishes 19 days into his deployment alongside 3 other soldiers. In 1976, 2 guys approach his dad and claim to work for the Department of Defense. They asked him to sign a letter that would change his son's status from missing in action to killed in action, and he refused, arguing the military would not confront people in public to sign documents. However, in the following weeks he was approached again by these 2 guys in public places and eventually signed it out of fear. He later received money for doing so. His sister then claims that every time they've seen Kurt's official files, the entries keep changing, and his sister claims her phone was being wiretapped. A cousin believes that everyone was being watched, claiming that he was followed to work several times and that 2 men would follow him from his home to his company and then back. After this went on for a month, he decided to confront them, but they denied following him. After that, for about a month, he was not followed. The cousin worked for a company that could run credit checks and decided to check Kurt's social security number. He found it was apparently never issued. And then after worker was threatened by a pistol-wielding man he never met, saying it was in his best interest not to do what he did earlier. In 1990, while at a petrol station, gas station for USA I think, the sister, I don't know why I didn't just say she's named Diane, went inside to pay. When she came back out, a car pulled up next to hers and standing still, and said to her, "It looks like it's going to snow," even though it was a sunny day. He got back in the car and drove away. And she realized that it was Kurt. A year later, 1991, she saw a car pull up to her on the highway and also saw that the driver was Kurt. It then left for an exit that went to an army base. She took note of the license plate and ran it to find it registered to a guy who claimed he knew nothing. Diane also claims that in 1991, she went with her 2 daughters went to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial and saw Kurt there. She didn't approach him out of fear. In 1992, the dad had a phone call. The caller asked for the name of a blonde-haired babysitter that Kurt once had. When he told the caller her name, a man in the background reacted, saying, "Yeah, Robert Sr." Believed that Kurt was there. The caller claimed that he would see him soon. The family is convinced Kurt was part of a secret government operation that brought him from Vietnam into the United States. Diane believes that he has tried to contact her and other family members on multiple occasions. She claims that she has talked to a man who is a secret returnee, and that they are allowed to come back to the United States, as long as they do not contact their families. She believes that this was done because the U.S. government had already claimed that all of the living POWs had been brought home, since they were still left behind. They could not become known to the public. All around, a super fucking coconuts case. I like this one. I feel like wanting to believe in extraordinary things is expressly human. It's so weird. If the family's testimony is true, and I don't really see a reason to believe it isn't, it confirms some shady shit. But I really don't think the motive is strong enough. It seems more likely that if this person was brought back to the US that he would have been sent there by the Vietnamese government though. Captured, indoctrinated, and sent to the US with someone else's ID. And kept cut off from his family so that his indoctrination remains effective. And they deleted his social security number? Mattress firm is without a doubt a front for something. I worked for Sleep Country, who mattress firm bought in 2013-14. We heard this rumor before the sale went through. I quit because I was moving to a very remote area. Mattress firm completely screwed me out of my 401k and employee stock. I lost about 25k. The rumor we heard was they are a shell corporation or money laundering. Possibly having to do with the blood diamond trade. Who knows really, but they're shady AF. The CIA creates conspiracy theories to provide cover for the real conspiracies. I think I remember reading about some CIA agent's AMA. Someone asked him the question, "What's the point of Area 51?" The answer was, to keep your attention away from Area 50 and 52. Obviously not an exact quote. But the idea of it has always stuck with me. Type in Area 50 in Google and news and things about Area 51 comes up like WTF. Big brain time brain. Tom DeLonge is an alien and he wants to tell us really badly but isn't allowed to. I miss you was a call to his home planet. Feral people in the mountains. Them bitches is real and the National Park Service is covering it up. Public land manager here. There are absolutely feral people in the mountains. They're called visitors, and our quarterly incident report compendiums are full of tales involving these unique, smelly creatures. Are we talking mentally ill individuals who wandered away from society? Hippie communes? Or cannibal hillbillies? No need to pick, buddy. Oh boy. Justin Trudeau as Fidel Castro's son. I agree. Far too many similarities. That Amelia Earhart was eaten by coconut crabs. I think that's a genuine theory. I very well believe some celebrities, in an attempt to live a normal life, might fake their death in order to escape the pressures of their celebrity. Many normal people, wanted criminals, have done it with great success. So what is stopping some of the younger, more instantly famous from dying young in order to live a normal life? Granted, some do die very young. But at the same time, I very well think someone like Michael Jackson could have easily escaped from all the craziness and decided to live somewhere quietly. Biggie and Pac. I had absolutely no horse in this race until this previously silent kid gave a dissertation about Tupac in an English class of mine. There's this rapper out of Texas called Black Rawin who sounds incredibly similar. The kid even wrote out and compared rhyming schemes. And the cadence of Tupac's style as compared to Black Rain's. Eerily similar. But copycats exist. I was sitting there thinking, this is really interesting, and then the dude, for the final part of his presentation, just showed a short clip of Black Rain being quickly ushered into a vehicle following studio time, in which one of the bodyguards says loudly, several times, "Get Pac in the car." Like I said, I had no horse in that race, but after that pretty convincing presentation, I'm convinced that Tupac is alive and well, and just sincerely wanted out of the East-West Coast bullshit. Long John Silver's launders money. Nobody goes there. How are they in business? It turns out it's all the mattress stores that secretly buy LJS to throw people off that they're the ones laundering money. They set up like freaking Starbucks. Half a block away, like, oh shit. I didn't think I needed a new mattress a half mile ago, but now that I've had a red light cycle to think about it, I will take advantage of the Labor Day sale. Still going on in February. Obligatory. I am a US citizen. But after the American football game I watched Sunday, I think Aaron Rodgers is deliberately tanking the Green Bay Packers because they wouldn't trade him. Maybe we need more than one game to decide if an all-time great is about to tarnish his reputation by committing an unprecedented act of sabotage. The reason there is a constant work zone on every popular road in my city is because the city wanted to double the speeding fine everywhere but couldn't get state approval. This was actually an issue in Massachusetts back in the 90s to early 2000s. I remember watching a story on the news about it. Work zone signage was purposely kept up for years after project completion so the police could collect double fines. I fully believe the Ohio Turnpike is doing this. Every 5 miles it seems there are long stretches of road work with nobody working, and it's been years. Disney came out with the movie Frozen, so whenever someone Googled Walt Disney Frozen, the movie would pop up. That explains the sequel, Frozen 2. Is Walt Disney really frozen, or is that just a conspiracy theory? Some of the art world is a money laundering scheme. Edit. Not all of it is. Wait till you hear about NFTs. Also WATA games and selling retro video games. Here's a YouTuber, Carl Jobst, https://YouTube. BRVLFA7V18A. Who has more journalistic integrity than any mainstream media. He does a great job of breaking it down. That the makeup and skincare industries are in collusion to create a continuous circle of business for each other. The theory. Makeup brands produce products to cover up facial imperfections, which themselves irritate the skin and cause breakouts. Whilst the skincare industry benefits from people buying so many skincare products due to breakouts that are made more frequent from makeup use. The skincare products are intentionally inefficient, not only to keep people purchasing from the hope that they will one day produce results through long-term consistent use, something which they say is required to see the effect on your skin, but to also continue to boost makeup sales used to cover up breakouts. And the cycle continues. Since WFH started, I've worn makeup like twice and dropped my skincare routine to basically nothing. I mean, wash my face in the shower, more of a vigorous rinse, and occasionally use a gentle exfoliant level of nothing. It's never been better. No breakouts. Not overly oily or dry. Looks more even and brighter. I ain't going back. I'm not at all smart about makeup and skincare. But keep in mind that whenever you're outside, airborne dust and particles are a factor, while your house might be relatively pristine. Lindbergh's kid died in the house, murder or accident IDK, and Lindbergh hired Hoffman and Company to stage a phony kidnapping. Then threw them under the bus when they deviated from plan and turned around and extorted a ransom. Yeah, I became convinced of this when I learned Lindbergh staged a similar kidnapped baby prank on his wife the week before. Plus there was a broken ladder beneath the window. I think Lindbergh climbed out the window with the baby and dropped him when the ladder broke. Then staged the kidnapping. Because how do you explain that you accidentally killed your child during a stupid, cruel joke? That the Kardashian sisters keep their brother chubby on purpose so they can use his fat for their injections. Love this one. Old Rob is a fat farm growing the necessary acres for booty lifts and boob jobs. Fat farm had me chuckling. Rob, it's time for another extraction. Get in the lipo booth while it's fresh. The Hawaii ballistic missile warning was not an accident. Something was launched by someone and classified military technology took it out. What this source told me was that, and again I've never found this source to be wrong, was that there was actually a missile fired. The missile was brought down by the United States anti-missile program. It was a submarine-based missile and it was from a Chinese sub. This was a renegade faction within the Chinese military that was in charge of this sub that fired this missile. And in fact the Chinese Navy, supportive Xi Jinping, current president of China, was the ship that then took out that submarine. Exopolitics.org link. https://exopolitics.org was a nuclear missile attack on Hawaii thwarted by a secret space program. The use of italics and multiple ellipses just makes this extra spicy and good. That vegan teacher. I swear, the more I hear about her, the more I agree with the theory that she's a meat eater pretending to be vegan in order to make vegans look bad. Isn't she the one who tried to knock a guy's phone out of his hand when he approached her and asked why she had 2 turkeys in her shopping cart and called her a phony or a hypocrite? Not sure how wild this is. But Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone. Craziest thing to me is Jack Ruby, who was at the original press conference at Parkland Hospital, just waltzing right into that parking garage that every television set on the planet is tuned to. Not being stopped by any kind of security. Going right up to Oswald and shooting him point blank. And none of the cops there shooting him back. To be fair, he was killing the guy who had just shot a popular president. It's possible the cops just thought it was no big loss. Also, the weapon was easily wrestled out of Ruby's hands. And nobody took their guns out to fire because there were 100 people around who could have gotten hurt. Ruby's motives and connections could easily be questioned. But the Dallas police and all of the people present during Oswald's shooting had no idea what was happening. Not that serious. But chapstick purposely makes it so that your lips are chapped even after you've used it so that you have to keep buying more. I totally believe this based on my own observations of my personal use of this product over 44 years. Even though government agencies have been proven to experiment on citizens and we don't find out about it until decades later, Mockingbird, Tuskegee etc., they've definitely stopped even without any regulatory overwatch agencies being formed. They're doing it right now. Kennedy curse. 11 relatives now. Isn't that curse just called the CIA? Probably. The man who got off of a plane and said he was from a country no one could find on the map. He then disappeared overnight in a hotel without a trace. It's about multiple dimensions. I believe it. The man from Tourette? It's been debunked, I think. There's really no source or any proof, documents of that happening. I think so. I remember reading recently that there are no records about this ever happening, no Japanese police or newspaper records. But now I read a Wikipedia article, https://m. Wikipedia.org, wiki, John_Zegras. And apparently there was a man with fabricated passport of a non-existing country. So apparently there really was an incident. That multiple dimensions urban legends were based on, at least sources point to that. Edit. About this guy. The national security apparatus assassinated JFK, MLK, and RFK.